A couple things here. Obviously, let's start with recruiting. We're excited, obviously, to be able to make the announcement today that we're officially adding John Lucas to our family. Although he's been apart for some time, you're not allowed to comment based on NCAA rules, certainly until today. And just excited about him and who he is as a person. We love his family, great character. A guy that I think understands that he's a point guard and is a point guard and plays that position in its truest sense and fashion. Makes guys better. He's a guy who's really improved a great deal. Part of it's his love for the game. He just continues to work. And then the thing that excites me the most, I think, is he just turned 17 here somewhat recently, so he's young. Think very similar to someone that we've all talked about, like Malcolm. In terms of age. So big upside, big ceiling. I think we've gotten, one of the best point guards in the country in that class. So we're really excited about that. Obviously, it's a time of year where we're also excited to play against someone else other than ourselves. We had a chance to do that on Sunday in the exhibition game, and we learned a lot. We got to clean up transition defense. We've got to clean up some rebounding. Some areas where we need to sharpen up a little bit, and we'll get a chance to do that today with practice as well as tomorrow's practice in Springfield. We're going to go over there and practice tomorrow and then play the game on Friday night. So our focus, obviously, after the exhibition game, part of it's on yourself, getting better yourself, and then part of it's on a really good North Florida team, a team that's predicted to win their league, a team that won 23 games last year, a team that won at Purdue. We all know how hard that is to do that. They shoot the three very, very well from multiple positions. At times they'll have 5 guys out there that can do that, and that makes them really, really dangerous. They're good defensively. They've got a culture in place. I've known Matt Driscoll for a long time. He's done a great job growing and developing that program. Certainly have a lot of respect for them. Their point guard, Dallas Moore, reminds me a lot of the kid I coached at Ohio, Cooper. He's a lefty, and I had a few coaches tell me this summer when I told them we were playing them that he'd be one of the best point guards that we play against all season, bar none. And he's really talented. He's left-handed. He changes speeds, plays well in the full court as well as half court, makes good decisions. And then the kid, Bo Beach, obviously stands out, who's kind of a versatile 3-4, 4-3 player, a ridiculous three-point shooter with great range. I love the athleticism of Davenport and Daniels up front, and yet they're also skilled. They can handle, they can pass, they shoot well. Their defensive numbers are solid from last year. They're good as well. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. We're very excited to get out there on Friday night and compete against North Florida. So I'll open it up for questions. Obviously, feel free to ask anything, as you always do, but recruiting, anything about the game Friday, anything about our team, feel free. You're more than welcome.
Before we get off recruiting, John, do you have anybody else in mind, or is there a possibility you would add somebody else?
Oh, sure. There's always a possibility that we'll add other pieces. I mean, we're sitting on one right now. We look forward to pursuing. We recruit every year. I mean, year-round, I should say, Lauren. 365 days a year, and we keep that rolling. And our antennas are always up. We're always interested in adding talented people and players to our team. So, our assistant coaches do a great job. One of the things that's really exciting to me is I think we've kind of settled in after being here 3 years, and we've got a really good feel on what it takes, Lauren, to be more so obviously than at the beginning, even because of experience being such a great teacher, of what it means to be at Illinois, kids that fit at Illinois, kids that can do well here both on, off the court, in the classroom. You learn some of that through successes in recruiting, and you learn some of that, quite honestly, like we all do in life, through mistakes, So we've started to figure that out a little bit, and I'm really, really excited about what we've continued to do here back to back to back in adding talented people and players to our program.
Obviously, you guys have gone after so many point guards as you've gone along. So what was it like when you knew you got John?
obviously I was ecstatic, but not necessarily because of, point guards necessarily, being like, got to get – it was more because of who he is. I mean, he just is – he's a good leader. He's a good person. Guys like him. He's a great teammate. He's obviously talented. And I think, you see what he did during the spring and the summer, this past spring and summer, and really emerged onto the national landscape. And if you watch him play, it's pretty obvious to see why. And I just think his best years are ahead of him, Jeremy.
What's his playing style like as a point guard?
I think he excels in pick and rolls, which is obviously a big part of the game, a big part of basketball in general today. You see so many pick and rolls. He excels in the open court. I think he also makes good decisions in half court. He's one of those guys that has the ability to play in any style regardless of the speed of the game. He makes really good decisions, has a knack for putting the ball on time, on target, which, I used to joke I could teach guys that, just kind of, joking around. Guy either has that vision or he doesn't have that type of vision. You can certainly work with them on making certain reads within your offense, but there's some guys that just have it when it comes to that, and I think he's exceptional with seeing things, and we're looking forward to him joining us.
I know he was one of the best distributors in July on the circuit. How does he kind of stack up to other guys that you've seen at that position?
Well, I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of the best point guards in the country, and I think his best days are ahead of him.
Also, you had a transfer option in Kipper Nichols on campus a couple weeks ago, and I know things have kind of died down with him, and some in the know have said that he's Illinois bound or may it already be a done deal. Can you comment on that at all?
He has joined us. Kipper will be joining us here at the break. We're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to him joining our team, no different than Tijon. He's a guy that's a great student, great kid. Obviously got to know him and his mom very, very well through that process. Had a great official visit with him, and very versatile. He can play a lot of different positions. He can defend a lot of different positions. I'm most excited, though, about how much he loves to work. I think he's a kid that's got exceptional upside as well. A lot like Tijon, he's very, very young for his grade. So we feel really good, really, really good about that. We feel like we've gotten two great people and two really, really good basketball players.
He signed a tender offer or an LOI?
He did. Yeah, he signed and will join us here at the break.
So he starts school at the next semester?
That is correct.
When will he become eligible to play?
Well, that we will see, Lauren. There's a process involved that we're gonna, we'll exercise. But worst case scenario, he'd be eligible roughly a year from now. As soon as the fall semester is over, during the 2016-17 school year.
When it ends as opposed to when the next semester starts?
When the fall semester ends in 2016, yes.
So he would be 3.5 years eligible?
If that takes place, yes, Tup. But there's still, some things we're working through where, hopefully, maybe he's going to get at least that, maybe more.
You knew him in Ohio, didn't you, John, back when he was a...
No, not when I was necessarily at Ohio University. I really started to get to know him when I was here at Illinois and just fell in love with the kid. And I'm excited. I'm really these two guys. I mean, we've had Black, Finke, Coleman, Lands, Williams, Jordan, and now these two guys. You will enjoy those guys. These guys are top-notch people. From a character perspective, they're very versatile. That's one of the things we've tried to do with our recruiting, I think, as I've been here, I'm now heading into, obviously starting officially our fourth season Friday. More versatility. I don't know how I like watching our team. I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of like watching them growing. But they're just so versatile. We got guys that are 6'6", 6'7", guys that can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. I think it gives us a ability to play big, play small. This team has that right now, Tup, that I'm coaching for the first time in my tenure here, and we want to continue to make sure that our teams have that. I think it makes it better for us, and it gives you, especially now with the way the game's going, you watch Golden State, they were so small. You got to have the ability, I think, to play both ways, to play both big and small, and to be very, very versatile. And we've been able to accomplish that through our recruiting efforts.
Be excited to see LeBron Friday night?
I hope so. He obviously, some of you probably saw it, a pretty good workout. I didn't see it. You guys saw more of it probably than I did on Sunday prior to the exhibition game. He came off it a little bit sore, which is normal, for this because he's basically, 4 to 5 weeks post-surgery, so that's not anything. There's nothing wrong. Trying to fight through that and figure that out, and, how's he feel, and, I'll have some conversations with him and our trainer. And is it possible that he plays Friday? Absolutely. How much? We're going to see how these 2 days of practice go, Tup, how he feels after practice today. How does he feel after practice tomorrow in Springfield? I think these 2 days will be a great barometer for LeBron.
Let's talk about the quality you were mentioning about the character. Do you have any anecdotes or extracurricular activities, any stories, things that spring to mind?
It's a great question, Rob, in terms of stories of, I don't know, it's more of a feel thing for me. One of the things that's really interesting for me is I like to see how kids that age treat adults, parents, coaches, how they respond to coaching. Obviously, we all like to be applauded and commended. It's human nature. But, how they respond to constructive criticism. How do they act when they miss a game winner? How do they act when they make a game winner? What's their body language like on the bench? What's their body language like when they get taken out of the game? And I just kind of reading all those things, being around the kid, his family, visiting with them up there, doing a home visit, watching him interact with his parents, his coaches. I think those are the things kind of that stand. I don't know if I have necessarily a specific incident where it was like, boom, newsflash, but I think the cumulative effect of all those experiences for me, Rob, led me to believe and gather my statement about him having high character and really caring about other people other than himself, and that makes it exciting, obviously, to have a chance to coach him.
Just this time last year, there was a lot of questions talk from us about Michael Finke. Won't he redshirt? This season, that's out the window. It means he's going to play.
Yeah.
Is there a different feeling about him or the way he approaches things now with that being not a burden for him?
Yeah, I think so. That'd be a great question, when you see him, to ask him. I think at this point, my guess is when you talk about it, he'd say it was probably misery going through it, not playing. But now he's like grateful for it. He's stronger. He's obviously 20 to 25 pounds heavier. He's better. He knows the system better. He's making a lot of progress very quickly. He's a really good basketball player. He knows how to play. And the exciting thing for us is he's just a freshman, So he's gotten a lot better. But my guess is that's what he would probably tell you, Marcus. Do your mindset change as a player knowing, hey, like, I'm going into the game tonight and I'm definitely not playing, or I'm going into the game tonight and I definitely am playing? I would say yes. I mean, it would have to. So I'm sure his mindset's different in that regard. But, again, some of those opinions I offered you, you'd have to ask him. But some of those things he has shared with me, so I feel like they're fairly accurate. But feel free to ask Michael as well.
Tracy's sitting out his second year. What's his role on the team right now and how he's persevering through all?
To lead with Trace, help us in leadership, especially, I think, in really being a mentor to Khalid and Jalen. I think that I've really challenged him to do that, to stay connected. I asked him after the Xavier scrimmage and after the exhibition game to text me 5 things that he saw from his perspective that he thinks we need to get better at. I do the same thing with LaTulip. Those guys have been around here a long time. And so I've had just little things like that. Other than that, his job is to rehab, and do it well. And he's, really working in the weight room. We keep joking, telling him he's going to be the strongest physically player for his size, pound for pound, in all of college basketball next season. He's really attacking the weight room. He's working very hard to come back. His mindset is impressive. I mean, just so positive with everything that he's been through. And, my hope is that, this time next year he's, a heck of a story. And, that I think we all hope that for him because he's such a great kid.
Walking normally.
Yeah. She said, I was teasing Schmitty the other day. Rob says, walking on, I'm going to put him in the game. They all started laughing. He is. He's moving around well. He takes his rehab, as you can imagine. He did the same thing with the ACL, Rob, very seriously. He's done a good job with that. He shoots free throws. If you're hovering around practice where you'll see him out there, he's shooting free throws. He's at least walking around a little bit. I think it feels pretty good. Obviously he's not able to play at this juncture. There is a process to him coming back and doing the right thing and making sure that from a health standpoint he's ready to go. But yeah, I mean he's the best.
He's going to be practicing with the team at some point this season.
I don't know that, Rob. It's a great question. I'm anticipating the answer to that's no, but I'll trust Schmitty. Schmitty will let me know.
John, I asked this of Coach Bowen. You guys have been here around the same time. You
Yeah.
talked about learning and everything about here. Just stacking classes. Just where do you guys think?
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think it's important, obviously. And we've stacked some now in a row where, basketball piece is obviously there. We all know LeBron's a good player. Michael's good and going to be even better. And DJ's good. Aaron's good. Jalen's good. Tijon's good. Kipper's good. I mean, you're right, though. I think you start stacking those classes, that's when you start to build something. And I'm excited. You look at our team, I kept pushing pause on the VCR when I was watching the film, and I'm like, do we really have 3 freshmen out there right now? Or, 3 freshmen and a sophomore, and we're young, we're really young at some positions. And some of the older guys, even a couple of the fifth-year guys, are newcomers. So that makes me get excited about this year's team. But obviously, from a program building standpoint, you start stacking them like you were talking about there with Matt. That's when you start to really build something and you create something special.
Coleman Lansfield after playing in the 24.
Yeah, great question. He felt good. He'd be the first to tell you, Marcus, his conditioning. I left him out there a couple times, probably a little bit too long, but I was trying to stretch his conditioning a little bit. Leg feels great, but he's working to get himself back in shape, getting himself to, I think he's learning it's different. He has great knowledge. He's a really smart player, and he has good instincts, but it's one thing to have those and watch film in a meeting before coming back and say, hey, when we trap the post or whatever, here's where you're supposed to be. He knows that. He could recite that to you right now, but actually doing that is 2 different things at real-time speed and recognition and all that. So I do think from a habit standpoint, he's not quite there yet, but we'll get him there. Conditioning needs to get better. He knows that. We'll get him there. But I thought last week and Sunday was a good first step.
Coach, I know you want Illini guys, regardless of where they come from. No in-state guys in this class, and as a whole, the group was down a little bit this year. How much of that was a challenge for your staff?
Obviously we've got some guys that are on our team that are from the state, take a lot of pride and should, playing for Illinois. And then we've got other guys, whether it's LaRon or Tijon or Kipper, that are great fits but don't happen to be from the state. So I think the thing I've learned through 3 to 4 years is fit is really important. Obviously, sometimes talent in particular areas goes through cycles. I think we all recognize and know that. But at the end of the day, I think for us, it's about the right fit. And I'm convinced more of that every day. I get a little bit older and lose a little bit more hair. I keep getting more and more convicted about that. So, I think fit is just so important, so important.
Start the season with 2 tourney teams from last year outside of your home arena.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to learn this
Well, we're going to find out. We scheduled pretty aggressively, probably more so than in the previous years, and that's okay. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about our team. Our guys are excited about the challenge. Guys know that you have to respect. The guys are some older guys. Malcolm, for example, said to me the other day, watch the clip, man, these guys are really good. I think, I don't know how he'd have felt as a freshman, but I think the maturity of some of those guys, their leadership right now is pretty good. They understand, how good North Florida is. They're good, And so right now with them, the biggest thing I've been trying to talk to them about, and you guys have heard me say it, and sometimes I think, when you say it, it's coach speak or cliche or, I would hope not. I'd hope it'd be really true that we're trying to honor the process. We're not just saying it because it sounds good. Like, I really hope that, guys are coming today like, hey, what can I control today? We have a great practice today in preparation for a really good team on Friday. We got to get better today. Our transition defense has got to get better from Sunday. We saw those clips, man, it wasn't good enough. Our rebounding wasn't good enough. We got to block out better. Let's get a little bit better today. And then same thing tomorrow, and then lace them up on Friday. I hope they get that message loud and clear, because that's certainly the way we're approaching it.
On Monday, everybody from the DIA, it seemed, expressed including Paul Kowalczyk, expressed sadness about losing Mike Thomas. Has the mood at Bielefeld and Oven been for the last couple of days?
I think your mood's what you make it. I do. But, in terms of Monday, obviously it was a hard day for all of us. I have, great relationship with Mike. I treasure the time that we had together here working together. But at the end of the day, for me, I remember when Coach Henson came to visit me for the first time in my office, and he said to me, if you remember one thing, that it's about Illinois and it's always about Illinois, you'll be in great shape. And he's right. It is about Illinois. It's about the 15 guys that are in our locker room. I've been granted the privilege to coach at a phenomenal institution with a great history and tradition basketball program that I don't take for granted. Most importantly, I get to coach the 15 guys that are in that locker room. That's, and I'm asked to be a steward of all of that and a leader. And so for me, I understand that that's primary, and that's what I keep coming back to here this week for me mentally. But it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to act like it's easy. It's not easy. This week hasn't been easy. But again, my focus right now is how can I help our guys? How can we get better from Sunday? What are we doing to get ready for Friday night's game? I'm trying to look at it through their eyes the best that I can.
Portion of the report that talked about the administration, one of the two names that came up was Paul Schmidt, and it exonerated him, but it kind of painted a picture of how he's obviously the full-time men's basketball trainer.
Sure.
But he had the responsibility, as his title suggests, of overseeing the football guys who
Sure.
came out badly in the report. So I imagine that a burden kind of has been lifted from Paul. I don't know whether you've seen it or not.
No, not really. The only thing I can tell you about Schmitty, and Dustin says it all the time, like, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, when a guy gets dinged up, he's right about 99.9% of the time. And his ability and track record to rehab our guys, care for our players, I just see what he does with me in my world, in kind of inside our silo. And I think he's one of the best that I've ever been around at diagnosing injuries, at putting guys in position to get back the right way, taking care of them from a health perspective. He's really sharp with that stuff. I trust him a great deal, and he's done a terrific job for us. Now, other areas, I can't speak of those. I can only tell you what he does for us. And, unfortunately, believe me, I've spent a lot of time with him in the last few months. And he just has handled everything with class and really works at it to help our guys.
Did it ever seem odd to you that he had formal oversight of the people that were here?
Not really. No, I think I've seen that happen at other institutions where the directors had a sport or other sports. I don't think it's, totally where that's like exceptional, But again, my experience with him, with us, he's been terrific.
John, speaking of that, I know it's still not ideal, but you might have two of the guys you thought might not be here for the first couple games.
Yeah.
Is this kind of optimistic for you, the fact that you
Yeah. Yes and no, Jeremy, because optimistic, let me define that. Certainly, we love LeRon. Are we hoping he's going to play Friday? Ken's making a comeback. We need, I think biggest thing those two guys bring is just, and you guys have watched it, just an air of toughness. They got a toughness to them that I like. The part that's hard, obviously, is I think sometimes there's a perception that as soon as a guy comes back, what they remember of that player was the last time they saw him. Well, there's a process, kind of like I was mentioning with JCL with Marcus. Still needs conditioning, still needs real-time reps, still needs to develop some habits, winning habits, both offensively and defensively in terms of schemes. The other guys won't be any different. They still got to kind of figure that out. There is a gap there of where it takes them a little bit of time to get acclimated. And I always felt like as a coach, and I learned it really, I thought last year as well, anytime, it's no one's fault, but anytime you add or delete a player and it changes the rotation or minutes or the dynamic of your team, even if it's just a little bit, it causes a little bit of a ripple effect. It's nobody's fault. It just is what it is. So I do think the one silver lining in this deal is that, obviously, other than Tracy, who we all feel for, a lot of stuff's happened early. So maybe it gives us a little bit of time to figure it out. Where it's a little bit tougher, I'll be honest, it's a little tough when, you're bringing a guy back 12 or 13 games into the Big Ten schedule. That's harder than bringing a guy back necessarily in December. But some of those things, as you know, Jeremy, you can't control. I mean, it's I wish we could control those things more, but just some of that stuff just happens. What else?
Do you have any questions for the phone lines for Coach Groce? Sure, Shannon on there. Anything else here in the booth?
John, you made the decision to start the two freshmen the other day.
Yeah.
And I was just curious why. I mean, I look at your roster the other day. You didn't have it wasn't like you had a ton of choices. But
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it, but part of it is those guys have gotten better too. We're going to have some depth now. Now, and this is what I've been on them about, being happy for other guys. We've got, you look at our team, you guys know who's coming back. We have multiple guys that could get double figures. I said the other day, I got news for you guys. You're not all going to get them in the same game, because if you did that, we'd average about 200 points a game, and that's just not happening. So you got to be happy for your teammates when they succeed or get some type of recognition. You can't be jealous. You can't be, and I'm not saying they are. I'm just being proactive in reminding them of that. Be happy that, Jalen played well on Sunday, seeing that he had been out that long, or Jordan played well, or, our assist to turnover ratio with the 2 point guards was 8-3. Like, be happy for those guys. And we have a group right now that I think has been through so much, and they're actually, we've talked a lot about, as you know, previously, playing for each other. They're doing that right now. Now, as Doc Rivers says, everything's happy and happy-go-lucky and great until you get popped in the mouth. So we've continued to try to put them in adverse situations in practice to prepare them tough, but we'll see. We've got a long way to go. I still think we can get closer as a team. Obviously, we're bringing guys back. Certain guys haven't gotten as many reps as others. In the case of your question, those two guys have gotten a ridiculous amount of reps. Probably even more than, there's times they probably like a blow in practice tough, and it's just like, whoa, they're out there, getting every rep. But I will say, and I've said this publicly, and it's true, I mean, I think it's accelerated their growth and development as players, because they've gotten so many reps. So, yeah, we were down some bodies, but part of it's those guys that earned it.